It's the middle of January 2024. There's snow on the ground. The temperatures are cold. Schools may be out or on e learning. That means there's one thing: baseball is upon us. I'm going to discuss the pitchers for Tennessee here in about 20 seconds. It is my favorite time of the year. I love football, love basketball, but none more than I love baseball. My name's Frank Rock. This is the House of Orange Sports Channel on YouTube. We'll start my 2024 baseball preview today. I'm going to talk about the pitchers. We'll talk about Tennessee's pitching staff, who's coming back, who they're adding, kind of compare a little bit to last year, and talk a little bit about what happened versus what hopefully will happen this year. But like always, guys, if you'll like, subscribe, share this out for me. Discussed it earlier or talked about it earlier. I just dropped a video talking about has Rick Barnes evolved as a head coach at Tennessee? Did this past week evolve him in terms of philosophy? Hopefully you'll check that out as well. But biggest video yet for this channel this past weekend, my Tennessee Georgia recap. Still getting lots of views. It was slow out of the gates, and then all of a sudden Sunday morning everything took off. To other channels, it may not look like much to me. It was awesome. So things have really taken off. Thank you guys for checking it out. Thank you to those of you who found the channel and checked it out and given it a chance and given positive feedback around the way as well. But we're going to talk a lot about basketball on this channel. My primary objective for this channel is baseball. I'm a baseball guy. I've had a lot of cool opportunities in baseball as far as coaching-wise. Can't say a lot. I mean, I was okay as a player, went nowhere, nothing to speak of a player. And coaching, some of the opportunities, some of the kids I've coached, I've had a lot of cool opportunities, been very blessed with that as well, and coached at some really good programs around a little bit in Tennessee, and then a very highly thought of recent state champion in South Carolina. I coached at last year prior to moving as well. But we'll get into it. Tennessee's pitchers this year. One of the things last year that I still can't wrap my head around when I look back at Tennessee's 2023 baseball team was their pitching staff. You returned your weekend rotation pretty much. Although in 2022, Blade Tidwell worked his way back in, he would have been in that rotation had not been for injury. But while he was out, you had Chase Burns, you had Chase Dolander, and you had Drew Beam, who picked it up and really did not miss a beat. And then Tennessee tried to incorporate Tidwell late, which, I don't know that it had the best result. He was okay here and there. Obviously, it didn't affect his draft stock. Maybe fell a little bit lower than he would have been naturally, but I felt that move going to him as the number one come back to bite him against Notre Dame on that Friday night when Notre Dame come out of the gates and just lit him up. And Tennessee really had a hard time recovering and ultimately got upset and put out. Last year, their pitching staff was not near as good as it was a year ago. The year before. And I looked at ERAs, I looked at things, and looking who's coming back this year. Of course, the anchor, QB1, Drew Beam. He's going to be your Friday night guy coming back. And I compared his 2 years here and some of his numbers, which were pretty interesting. So his freshman year, he went 8-1 with a 2.72 ERA. Strikeout numbers weren't as much as he was 62 Ks, 76 innings pitched, held opposing batters to a 186 average. Last year, he went to a 3.63 ERA, 9-4. He did amp up his strikeouts. He had a few more innings. He had 8 more innings pitched, but had 88 strikeouts compared to 62. So he amped that up by about 26. 267 batting average. That went up it ran up 79 points. That's a huge jump. Gave up 12 home runs last year. But the thing with Beam was, I thought the end of the year he was Tennessee's best pitcher in the rotation. I'm not counting Chase Burns because Burns come out of the pen. In the tournament, he was lights out. I saw Burns pitch at South Carolina. He came in and got lit up. That was a game when it was a doubleheader, 7 innings. And Vitello, right or wrong, he pulled Dolander when Dollander was pitching arguably his best game of the year, and Burns got lit up that game. But Burns, out of the pen was a stud. A lot of your publications are taking that into account, calling him preseason pitcher of the year. I got to see it. I've got to see it. I want to see how he was as a starter because he got moved to the pen for a purpose last year. And I'm not one that necessarily believes that his best is bullpen. Maybe it is, but he was really good as a freshman. But anyhow, about the current team, Drew Beam's your Friday night guy. That's going to be known. And if the Drew Beam that finished the year resumes this year, we're going to have a damn good Friday night starter. And I fully expect this guy. He's, from publications I've seen, he's anywhere from a mid to a late first round projection in the Major League Baseball draft this year. Does he improve upon those numbers? I really feel he has a lot of room to improve his ERA and his opponent's batting average. Curious to see on strikeouts. Innings pitched, I think, needs to go up some. In turn, does those strikeouts go up? Do they seem kind of in line with it? From what I'm gathering, Tennessee's number 2 is going to be A.J. Russell. Last year, he was 2-0, 0.89, 47 Ks, and 30.1 innings. Held opponents to a .095 batting average. I feel he'll be your Saturday guy, and then the Sunday guy remains to be seen. I've seen Tony Vitello at the conclusion of fall talked about they may go with an opener. They have a lot of pitchers. And some of those guys, and I'm going to get through this as quick as I can and get this through, but Wyatt Evans is a guy out of Greenville. Pitched his freshman year, redshirted last year for injury. When he pitched 2 years ago, it was 0-0 record, 2.25, 22 K, 16 innings pitched. You have Xander Seacrest, who started plenty of games at Tennessee, more midweek starter. Is he an option this year? He has a 6-1 career record, 1.95 career ERA in a couple years. You have Andrew Benke, who's coming back in 2022. He was the number 8 player in the state of Tennessee. You have Kirby Cannell coming back, who he's going to be a lefty out of the bullpen. Couple guys, look at Aaron Combs. He'll be a bullpen guy as well. Coming back, J.J. Garcia, a guy figure factors into the bullpen, come out of Combine Academy in North Carolina. Considered one of the best programs in the country. He was ranked number 419 out of high school, ranked higher in North Carolina in 2022 coming out. He did pitch a little bit last year, had an over 4 ERA. Some guys I'm looking at, and I previewed this previously when I talked about the transfers coming in, but 2 guys to keep in mind. Tennessee got A.J. Causey from Jacksonville State. He was their Friday night starter last year. Now some concerns there. He did have a 5-2 record, but he had a 5.07 ERA. 89 Ks, 76 innings pitched. So this is a guy, he is a strikeout pitcher. And then you have Nate Snead from Wichita State. He'll be a sophomore this year. He was 1-2, 3.16 with 3 saves, 53 Ks, 42 2/3 innings pitched. He was mainly a bullpen guy. He started like 1 or 2 games at the end of the year. I know they're high on him. This guy brings some heat. He is an option as well. Do they go with one of those guys potentially as a starter? They're bringing in upwards, depending on where you look at. There's not a lot of good info depending on where you look, but upwards of about 10 pitchers that are bringing in from the high school ranks. Their only high school guy they lost to the draft was Carson Rucker, who was a position player anyways, and then they lost Ryan Galani, who was going to be coming in transferring from Wofford. And both position guys. So all their pitchers who committed and signed will be on campus. And leading guys that I see, depending on where you look, is Matthew Dallas, who was rated as a top 100 prospect by Perfect Game. And you had Derek Schaefer out of Arizona, who was, depending on the publication, ranked a top 200 4-star player as well. That's a couple of guys that stood out to me. Now you have a couple guys coming back. How are these guys going to factor in? You got Austin Hunley, who was a 2022 signee, the number 7 overall prospect in the state of Tennessee, according to Perfect Game. You had Hunter Sloop, big guy, about 6'7", coming out of North Carolina. He was rated by Perfect Games the number 75 overall player in 2022. He played at the P27 Academy up in Lexington, South Carolina, which is where Billy Amick played his high school ball at as well. So this team has options. Who steps up? Is it Dallas? Is it Derek Schaefer? Is it one of these guys coming back? Do they give Seacrest some innings? Do they go Wyatt Evans? I've seen him mentioned as well. Lots of pitching. Not only who's that third starter going to be on Sunday, who will they use midweek? They have some tough midweek games coming up this year. I know Kansas State is one of them. That'll be a tough game. Of course, you have your in-state rivalries, which we've seen how that's gone with Tennessee Tech the last couple of years. Tennessee Tech has made life hard on Tennessee the last 2 years in those non-conference games. Who's going to close? Does Nate Snead, who had 3 saves? Funny enough, talking about closer, and I looked last year, Tennessee only had 4 saves last year. 4 saves. Chase Burns had 2 of them, and it just slipped my mind who had the other 2. It was Seth Halverson. Seth Halverson had the other 2. So, their end of game guys was more multi-game. They had a few comebacks late in games last year as well. So who nails that down? What is Snead? I think Snead's going to be a big wild card. I think Snead's going to be a big piece. They were excited to get him. Does he play that closer role? Can you give you multiple innings late? Does he play that opener on Sunday? Does Russell go? There's a lot of questions. The one thing I know, without getting to position players, this pitching staff has to be better this year. They relied on, again, Beam was their best starter at the end of the year. Chase Burns bailed them out in Omaha. Chase Burns bailed them out in Mississippi. Chase Burns bailed them out a little bit in that Clemson game. Dolander wasn't getting the job. Dolander pitched like crap in the tournament, and Chase Burns bailed him out those games. Andrew Lindsay, when we got to tournament, not pitching his best games. Wasn't pitching his best. Drew Beam was that consistent guy at the end. Against LSU in the last game of the year, he pitched good enough to earn that victory. He pitched good enough. LSU's pitcher was just better that night. Tennessee couldn't hit. I'm excited to get to the lineup. I'm going to come back tomorrow with a more release video talking about the catchers, because that's a spot, very important spot. Maybe defensively, the quarterback of the team. No doubt the quarterback of the team. Where does that position improve? We'll talk about the infielders later in the week, the outfielders, and then I'll kind of wrap that, maybe go a couple different ways with that as well. But I got a lot of content coming up. Baseball, basketball. I'm going to drop some football, which I'll do that as well. But, football's in the fall. Football, it is its own thing for sure. Football's king in Knoxville. Make no mistake about it. Baseball is a big deal. Basketball is a big deal as well. There is an audience for it. I'm going to bring that audience. This will be the most well-rounded channel on YouTube for Tennessee sports. I'm not counting VolQuest. I'm not counting 24/7. I can't compete with what they're doing as I'm one man bringing 3 sports to you and bringing a review of the week on Sunday. But this will, without a doubt, be the most well-rounded, most informative channel on YouTube. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to check out other content, check out the channel. My links are at the end. I'll post an end screen where you can go to the playlist for baseball, basketball as well. But as always, thank you guys. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. My name's Frank Rock. This is the House of Orange Sports Channel on YouTube. Have a good evening. Stay safe and go Vols.